Every so often, your mind does something that stops you for a second. You hear a recording of your own voice and something feels wrong. That's not what I sound like. You walk into a room you've never been to, and somehow it feels like you've stood there before. Or a name sits right at the edge of your memory. You can almost taste it, and then it's gone. These moments feel like glitches. Strange, unexplainable little malfunctions in an otherwise reliable machine. But they're not malfunctions at all. Each one is your brain doing exactly what it's designed to do. You're just usually not paying close enough attention to notice the machinery working. Let's look at 3 of the strangest, most universal moments the human mind produces, and what's actually happening underneath each one. Let's start with the voice one, because almost everyone has felt this. You record yourself talking, a video, a voice memo, anything, and you play it back. And almost immediately, something feels off. That voice sounds thinner, higher, somehow less you than the voice you hear every time you speak. Here's what's actually going on. When you talk, you hear your own voice 2 ways at once. Some of the sound travels through the air, into your ears, the normal way. But a huge part of it travels a completely different route, straight through the bones and tissue of your own skull, directly into your inner ear. This second pathway, called bone conduction, tends to boost the lower frequencies. It makes your voice sound fuller, deeper, richer than it actually is to everyone else. It's a private acoustic effect generated entirely inside your own head that no other person on Earth has ever heard. A microphone, on the other hand, only captures the airborne sound, the version everyone else has been hearing all along. So when you hear a recording, you're not hearing a distorted version of your voice. You're hearing your actual voice, clearly, for perhaps the first time, and the version you're used to has been an internally amplified illusion the entire time. In other words, the voice you think is you has never actually left your own skull. Now let's talk about the second one, that eerie sense that you've already lived through this exact moment before, even though you know logically that you haven't. This is déjà vu, French for already seen. Around 2/3 of people experience it at some point, most often between the ages of 15 and 25, and then less frequently as they get older. It usually lasts only a few seconds, and it tends to strike during ordinary, unremarkable moments, not major life events. Not major life events. There's no single confirmed explanation, but one of the leading theories involves a very small mismatch in how your brain processes new information. Your brain is constantly comparing what you're experiencing right now to memories of things you've experienced before, searching for similarities to help you make sense of the world. Normally, this comparison happens smoothly, entirely outside your awareness. But every so often, the brain's memory recognition system may misfire slightly, flagging a brand new scene as familiar before the rational part of your brain has had a chance to confirm whether it's actually new or not. For a brief moment, you get a strong feeling of familiarity attached to something your conscious mind knows is happening for the first time. That contradiction, recognition without evidence, is what produces the unsettling feeling. Some researchers compare it to a kind of neurological false alarm, similar to a smoke detector going off from steam in a bathroom. Nothing is actually wrong. A system built to protect you and help you make sense of the world, simply triggered slightly too early. Interestingly, people who travel more, sleep less, or experience higher stress tend to report déjà vu more frequently, suggesting it may be connected to a slightly overworked or fatigued memory system, misfiring just a little more often than usual. And now the third one, that maddening moment when a word or a name feels completely within reach, but refuses to actually surface. Researchers call this the tip of the tongue phenomenon. You know it. You might even remember what letter it starts with, how many syllables it has, or a completely unrelated word that sounds similar. Your brain has clearly located something close to the answer. It's just failed to fully retrieve the final piece. This happens because your brain doesn't store a word as one single complete unit. It stores it more like several separate pieces. Its sound, its meaning, its spelling, sometimes even the emotional context around when you learned it, all linked together, but stored in slightly different places. Retrieving a word means successfully reconnecting all of those pieces at once, in the right order, at the right moment. The tip of tongue state happens when most of those connections succeed. But one link, often the specific sound of the word, briefly fails to load. You end up with almost the entire word, missing just the final piece needed to say it out loud. Interestingly, this happens more often with proper names than with regular words. A name usually has no deeper meaning attached to it that can act as a backup clue. Nothing about the sound Jennifer or Marcus hints at who that person actually is. There's no alternate path in, so when the direct sound link fails, the name simply stays frustratingly out of reach, sometimes for minutes, sometimes for days, until often at a completely random later moment, it suddenly resurfaces on its own. 3 completely different moments. A voice that never sounded the way you thought. A feeling of familiarity with no real memory behind it. A word sitting just out of reach, fully formed but somehow unspeakable. None of these are malfunctions. Each one is a visible seam, a rare moment where you can actually catch your own brain in the act of doing something it usually does so smoothly you never notice it happening at all. Most of the time, your brain identifies your voice, recognizes your surroundings, and retrieves the right words so seamlessly that the entire process is completely invisible to you. It's only in these brief, strange moments, when the system runs just slightly out of sync, that you get a rare glimpse of the machinery underneath. So the next time you hear your own recorded voice and think, that's not me, or feel a flash of déjà vu in an ordinary hallway, or lose a name that was right there a second ago, take a moment before it passes. You're not witnessing a glitch. You're witnessing your own mind briefly, from the outside.